Hello? If you want to compare your RTX 4060 Ti tests with the video cards that dominate the market in 2026, here's a quick guide to what monsters your card is competing against now. Testing Resident Evil 4 Remake on NVIDIA RTX 4060 Ti at 1440p. As you can see in the settings menu, we are pushing the 8GB VRAM to its limits with high textures and ray tracing enabled. Settings. Resolution, 2560 by 1440. Graphics preset, custom, high/normal mix. Texture quality, normal, 2GB per high. Upscaling, DLSS quality. Ray tracing, normal. Frame generation, off. Laptop computer My PC specs. GPU, NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4060 Ti 8GB. CPU, Intel Core i5-11400F. RAM, 16GB. OS, Windows 11. NVIDIA Camp, 50 Series Blackwell. RTX 5060 Ti, 16GB. This is the new standard for 1440p. It has about 15 to 20% more raw performance than your card and uses the new DLSS 4. If you do a comparative test, this is the main rival. RTX 5060, although it is theoretically below your Ti model, the new GDDR7 memory makes it very close to the performance of a 4060 Ti, but with much lower power consumption. AMD Camp, RDNA 4. Radeon RX 9060 XT, 16GB. It is considered the best value in 2026. It offers a lot of VRAM at a competitive price and beats the 4060 Ti in rasterization, performance without ray tracing. Radeon RX 9070, if you want to show where the 4060 Ti loses, this is the card to beat for entry-level 4K. Intel Surprise, Battlemage. Intel Arc B580, it became extremely popular in 2026 for the budget. It directly competes with the 4060 Ti at 1440p, having 12GB of VRAM and a price many times lower. Here's how you can structure this information in the description to look like a professional benchmark. Bar chart benchmark results, Resident Evil Requiem. Minimum, 1% low 25 FPS, this is where you probably had those VRAM drops I was talking about. Average 155 FPS, a very high value for 1440p. Maximum, normal/peak 85 FPS, you probably mean the constant average in heavy areas. GPU temperature, 58 degrees Celsius, excellent. Your card is running very cool, which means your cooling system is top-notch. 1440p, Quad HD, resolution. At 1440p, the image is much sharper than the standard 1080p. On a decent monitor, the details of Leon's face, the textures on his clothes, and the environment will look very sharp. DLSS quality, your secret. By using DLSS on quality, you were able to achieve that huge 155 FPS average without losing any image clarity. DLSS quality is almost indistinguishable from native resolution, so in video the graphics will look flawless. Ray tracing, normal. Even at normal, ray tracing adds those realistic reflections in puddles, on windows, and on metal surfaces. In Resident Evil, this completely changes the atmosphere, making it much more immersive and horror. Temperature of 58 degrees Celsius, sign of health. The fact that the board is at 58 degrees Celsius means that the graphics are not limited by heat. The image will be fluid, without visual artifacts caused by overheating. Loudspeaker, what your followers will see. Visual analysis, perfect rain. This is one of the most demanding scenes for any graphics card, and the RTX 4060 Ti handles it masterfully at 1440p. Here are some highlights. Asphalt reflections, the water on the ground acts like a mirror. Thanks to ray tracing, I'm assuming you left it on normal, the lights in the background reflect realistically in the puddles, not just as blobs of color. Wet trash texture. The blue plastic bag on the left and the cardboard box in the center look textured and wet, not flat. Details are very sharp, a sign that the textures are on high. Depth of field, the foggy and rainy background creates an oppressive and realistic atmosphere, focusing attention on the details in the foreground. Global illumination, diffuse light from lampposts scatters through raindrops, creating a gorgeous volumetric effect. The game takes place in October 2026, approximately 28 to 30 years after the destruction of Raccoon City by the thermobaric bomb sterilization operation. Main protagonists: Grace Ashcroft, a young, introverted, bookworm FBI analyst with no combat experience. She is the adopted daughter of Alyssa Ashcroft, a character from Resident Evil Outbreak. Grace investigates a series of mysterious deaths of Raccoon City survivors. She is the emotional center of the story. Vulnerable, scared, but intelligent and brave. Her sections are pure survival horror, hiding, solving puzzles, managing limited resources and running away from enemies. Leon S. Kennedy, the legendary DSO, Division of Security Operations, agent. He returns with a more action-oriented gameplay style, similar to Resident Evil 4 Remake. He is supported by Sherry Birkin, whom he saved in Raccoon City as a child. Leon has his own regrets and is dealing with the consequences of past infections. Main antagonists: Victor Gideon, former Umbrella scientist, the main villain. He wants to carry out the will of Oswell E. Spencer. Zeno, agent of the criminal organization The Connections, who looks and acts very similar to Albert Wesker. Many believe he is a clone or successor. Key locations: Wrenwood Hotel, abandoned, in the Midwest, the place where Grace's mother died 8 years ago. This is where it all begins. Rhodes Hill Chronic Care Center, a nursing home where Grace wakes up drained of blood, very tense sections. Raccoon City Ruins, the destroyed city returns as a major location. Explore iconic areas, RPD, streets, underground labs. The city has not been completely destroyed, remains of zombies, BOWs and secret labs of the Connections still exist. Main plot: it all starts with mysterious deaths caused by Raccoon City Syndrome, RCS. A residual mutation of the T-virus that affects survivors. Grace arrives at the Wrenwood Hotel and is trapped. Leon is sent when a police officer goes missing. Here's what we notice from a technical and aesthetic point of view for the video. Video game gaming scene analysis. Atmosphere: it's typical for Resident Evil, dirty, wet, and dangerous. The reflections in the puddles are very realistic, which confirms that the ray tracing does its job even though it's unnormal. Character details: the texture of the leather jacket and the way the light falls on the backpack look excellent. At 1440p, these details make the difference between a game that looks old and one that looks next-gen. Performance at this point, overlay check. FPS 70, I'm in an area with a lot of objects, assets, but the card stays stable above the golden threshold of 60 FPS. GPU load, 98%, the card is being used to its maximum. That's good, it means that the i5-11400F processor is not slowing it down. VRAM, 92%, notice how the video memory usage goes up and down depending on the area. Here I'm a bit lighter than in the previous rain scene, but still close to the 8 GB limit. Temp, 57 degrees Celsius, incredibly stable cooling. A very good implementation of the board, probably a 2-fan model or a very well ventilated case. Perfect for a thumbnail. It shows emotion and cinematic graphics. The difference between the two is huge in 2026, especially for the 1440p resolution you're playing at. Here's a quick comparison between your old 4060 Ti and the new generation. Rocket RTX 5060 Ti 16GB, Blackwell generation. Double VRAM, the 16GB completely eliminates those 25 FPS drops you're experiencing. Games no longer swap with RAM, so everything is much smoother. DLSS 4, the 50 series comes with DLSS 4, which offers much better sharpness than DLSS 3 at 1440p. Raw performance. It's about 25 to 30% faster in rasterization, without ray tracing. Ray tracing, the new architecture handles reflections, like the one in the mirror, much more easily, without dropping FPS as much. How about buying it to make a special upgrade video on YouTube? It would be great content for your subscribers to see the difference from 8 GB to 16 GB. Play to understand the story, not just for the score. Good luck! Subscribe for more honest benchmark tests. Hit the bell to be the first to see how upcoming games run on the i5-11400F and the 40 series. Like if this test helped you decide on a graphics card. What settings are you using on your systems? Write to me in the comments.